Oh, we're getting ready for the live stream. Sit back, relax. Let's talk about engagement. Let's talk about interaction. Let's talk without the music playing underneath. Oh, it's my favourite bit. Welcome to the Get Events Online LiveStream. Warwick Merry here. Today we're talking about engagement versus interaction. What's the difference? What's better? Well, let's talk. I've had a few things happen in the last couple of weeks and seen a few different examples of interaction versus engagement and how, I got to tell you, they left me a little dissatisfied. So I'd love to hear from you, for those of you who have joined us, as to what you've seen that works really well in terms of engagement and interaction just as we talk. So this is Warwick Merry here, triple certified virtual and speaking presenter and professional. So when it comes to online and hybrid events, engagement is so important. We have shifted from that I'm a head on the stick, I will talk at you and I'll tell you what you should do with your life and your business. It's okay if we're hearing a story, but you can't just tell me what to do because I'm drifting. People don't want something done to them. They want it done with them. So we're having our events now. We're used to it. We've spent 2 years with online events, talking to the screens, doing something else on the side. So we've got a whole lot of stuff going on at once. And we're sort of used to, it's not really multitasking. We're doing one thing at a time, but in fits and starts. So if you're going to be doing something to get engagement, there has to be a reason for it. So let me give you a couple of examples of what doesn't work. There was a program that I was facilitating, we were hosting, and one of the speakers was giving a whole lot of detailed data and just very busy screens. One of those presenters where they'll put a whole lot of text and graphs and data on a screen and then read it to you. So I've got to be honest, a little bit dry. For those in the audience, they were enjoying the implications and finding out what it meant. So it was okay. It's like they're an industry expert speaker. They weren't a professional speaker. So it was okay. Then, because, we're getting towards the end and you could see he's like, oh, I haven't got them to do anything. I'll get them to do something. And he said, so coming up, I've got the 4 reasons that we think that's going to be impacted for da-da-da-da-da. What do you think they could be? Write it in the chat box. And he spoke for a couple of minutes as couple of things were put in the chat box. And then he said, well, I can't see the chat box, so let me tell you what the 4 things are. So he had us do something, but there was no reason for it. There was no feedback on it. There was no, and number one, how can you not see a chat box? If you are presenting at an online or hybrid event, how can you not have that chat box open so you can see what's going on so you can interact? So to be able to just say, hey, give us some feedback, and I can't see it, so I'm just going to barrel on. The feeling that I know I had, I'm pretty confident some of the other delegates had, was like, oh, well, what was the point of that? Why would you ask me for my opinion if you don't, at the very least, refer to it? If you don't engage me in conversation about it, ask, why would you think that? That's a good answer. I hadn't thought of that. Or, oh, wow, you've brought that up. Yes, that's definitely one of them. And you'll be very excited to see the other 3. There is a way of referring to the input that's been put there that validates and makes the people who put it in go, yeah, I got that one right. It's just, we're back in primary school and high school again, when it's like, the teacher asks the questions, you get it right, you sort of have that feel, yeah, I got that one right. I'm good at what I do, especially if it's maths, because I love maths. So it's just, make sure that there's a reason for it, and make sure that whatever you're doing is there's a reference to it. Another event that I was hosting, we had a speaker come on, and she had some co-moderators or co-hosts that were instructing on how to use some of the different systems for using. There's a particular service that this online event thing could do, and got people to do something with it. So there was some interaction, which was really nice, and then asked people to go into breakout groups and discuss what they'd done and why they did it and what their underlying thoughts were. And, and so the moderators went into the breakout rooms and helped talk about it. And then we came back and then we moved on. So that conversation that they had was great, but again, we did nothing with it. We didn't get some highlights to it. It wasn't even referred to. We weren't given a reason publicly that bonded everyone. So, because I know for me that what I found worked really well is if I'm getting people to do a group exercise and bring it back, I'll get 1 or 2 pointers from each other. What that does is have everyone feel like, oh, wow, we were on that path too, or, hey, that's a perspective I've never heard of. That's good. I hadn't thought of it like that. So it's a way to share the ideas and really boost the concept of what you're talking about. So I would suggest that just doing something, coming back and moving on without referring to it to the plenary session really isn't the best use of your time. So what is? Well, here's the thing. Engagement is when you've got people doing stuff for a reason and there's a takeaway lesson learning activity coming from it. So it's a way that they're looking at what's going on, they're thinking about what's going on, and they're really taking that next step of how can I apply this to what's going on in front of me right now. So I'm all for getting people to do things. Lisa McGinnis-Smith is fantastic at getting people to do physical things, even with online events, and looking at how they can, just really transcending that boundary of, I'm getting everyone to do physical things. We're all in our own home or in a hybrid event. So I've got half of you in a great big room. But it's a combining experience, but also there is a learning and lesson from it. The one that, and you have to, when you speak to Lisa, and do speak to her, talk to her about the difference between what's pain and agony. And she has a physical representation for that. There are other people who do really great things with breakout rooms in terms of going away, getting some stuff, coming back, debriefing. I've got to tell you, breakout rooms are one of the most underused features for online events. I think they're very powerful because you can break down into, say, groups of 3, and 3 is really good for conversation. Once you get to, say, 5, it's too easy for someone to sit back, maybe an introvert, maybe someone who's just not feeling the love, maybe someone's like, I'm only here because the boss told me to. Being in a group of 3, you cannot hide. And so you can have a conversation. We can actually get your thoughts on it. So if you're saying this is rubbish, we're hearing that and we understand why you think it's rubbish. And you may have a valid point. So it's the kind of thing that's really going to help your organization by getting voices heard and then coming back and doing a bit of a debrief and sharing some of those. So sharing the main voice, but also some of the outliers in terms of those who say, this is amazing and wonderful, and this is absolute rubbish. So everyone's voice or those different perspectives get heard and their reasons behind it. So when you're creating some kind of online event, or whether it's a meeting or whether it's just something simple as just hanging out with a couple of friends, whether it's a drink session, whether it's the weekly meeting, you've got to get them to do something, but there has to be a reason. It can't just be, we're doing this for the sake of doing it. Maybe a drink session could be, but for your meetings or for your events, or if you're a speaker, there's got to be the reason. Why is it here? For what purpose? One of my business coaches, Paul McCarthy, would drum that into you for everything you did. For what purpose? So everything you do in your presentation has to be purpose-driven. Why am I doing this and what do I hope to get from it? Is it to further a learning? Is it to further a message? Is it to further a meaning? Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. And, the expert says we have to be interactive, because sometimes it actually is worse to be interactive with no reason than to not be interactive at all. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. You know what else makes a bit of sense is really when you're looking at how do I get a bit better at doing this? So if you want to get better at being an online presenter, check out onlinepresenterpro.com/get7keys. So I've got seven keys on what it takes to be a great, in fact, there's more on the online. So when you go online, there's a video and a companion piece PDF. The video has more than 7, but it's, you bear with me, it's 7 keys. And that'll really help you when you're, again, it's not about being the professional speaker up the front and here we go, and alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, Horatio. It really is that, how do I get better engagement and buy-in from the people that I'm meeting with, from 3 to 303? So check it out, and it's free, which we love. All right, hey, thanks for joining me. I'll be here again next week, every Thursday at 9 a.m. Melbourne time. I'd love to see you back here. Thanks for your input. And if you're watching the recording, just throw the old hashtag recording so I know that you've joined us and hear a bit of the thoughts from you. All right, hey, thanks very much. It's been fantastic. You've been great. I've been Warwick. Active live stream dance, just to let everything all wrap up.